joining us here on Christmas Clatter, making his Christmas Clatter debut is Decyo. He is a jazz singer, crooner. He is a young man from Florida that has put out a Christmas album called Harping My Way Through Christmas, and I got to take a little listen to it earlier. It released yesterday on the 30th. It's available now wherever things stream. And when I first heard it, I was in love with his vibe and his voice. And Decyo, thanks so much for joining me here on Christmas Clatter.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited because this is actually my first podcast interview. And the fact that I get to talk about Christmas and the new Christmas album I just put out. Yeah, I'm more than excited to be here. So I appreciate it.
Oh man, I really, I'm really excited you came on. I was I think the way we connected, I was just scrolling through Instagram and saw that you had a post up, and I always see people that have a post up, and it's like, I'll take a look at this guy. And I always go to the YouTube or somewhere and listen. And I heard you sing, what was the song? I wrote it down. I Could Be That Guy. And
geez. Okay.
And I was like, dang, that's really good. And so, I was like, I just got to message this guy just to see if he'd be interested in hopping on, because I know this Christmas album, this Christmas music is going to be something special, and you did not disappoint. But every good idea starts as a seed of an idea. And so what gave you the inspiration to make a Christmas album?
Oh, geez. I mean, just as an artist, as a jazz artist at that, I've always kind of had sort of the musical dream per se to do a big Christmas album. And I still do. I mean, this project was a little more of a smaller scale, kind of niche idea that still can stand on its own. But I still have, a dream and a goal to sort of do this big old kind of big band style sound with the horns and the strings and everything type Christmas album. So yeah, but I was like, I want to release something, but I was like, I was kind of going back and forth because I was like, I can't do that. I'm a grad student at the University of Florida. So I was like, I don't have the money to do this big band type Christmas album. So I just kind of, I've always had a crush on the harp. So hence the name of the album, Harping My Way Through Christmas. I always had like a musical crush on the harp, and kind of just did some scouring through YouTube, listening to different harpists do their takes on Christmas tunes and things like that. And then I came across the harpist that's featured on the album, Rossitza Milevska, and she's a jazz harpist over in France. And so I was like, jazz artist, jazz singer, jazz harp. So it just kind of just connected, and we were originally going to do a single, but things just kind of worked so well because we were scared of the technology and the virtual aspect that was going to if it's going to be feasible or not. But it worked very well where she was able to record her harp tracks and I could do my vocals over here in Florida. And then we did 5 tunes, and I'm really happy with the final product. So that's just kind of how I went. It was just I knew I wanted to release something for Christmas, like a single or something, but I didn't want to be too basic, and I didn't want to go all the way out there just because I don't have the funds for it right now. But that's going to be in the works, eventually. So but yeah, it just kind of all came together that way.
Oh, it definitely will be in the works. For those listening at home, Decyo is someone you guys make note that you heard him here on Christmas Clatter first, because I have a feeling that you got big things ahead of you, my friend. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the harp. I've listened to, I don't know how much Christmas music. Of course, being the Christmas podcast guy, you don't hear a lot of harp unless it's kind of sleepy type of Christmas music. And I don't mean sleepy like in a negative way, but just kind of that calm and relaxing. And this was really cool. I don't know if I've ever heard the harp played like this at times, and be such like the focal instrument and the lead instrument through it all. But it was super cool, and such a great idea to, give that flavor to it. And that's something that would, stand out, especially in a jazz setting like that.
For sure. Yeah, that was the main thing for me. It was like, cause I'm in the same way. Before I met Rossitza and heard different jazz harpists, I've never heard someone like she's literally played like playing bass lines on the harp and doing all these arpeggios and glissandos and grooves, and one tune has a bossa nova flair to it. And so I've never seen a harpist do anything like that. So even more was like, I have a crush on the harp. It's Christmas. She's amazing, jazz. So it really worked out.
It really was. And there's times I'm like, is that harp or guitar? you
Right.
know, because it
Right.
almost sounds like
Exactly.
a classical guitar, you know, one of those classical nylon string guitars being played. But,
Hmm.
you know, then it's like, well, you can't hit those notes that high on those guitars, you know, you can tell by the tone. But it was really great, and really enjoyed it. But let's give everybody a little bit of a flavor of what we're talking about here. I just got this quick little clip of it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, because you were not afraid to take on some of the heavyweight songs of Christmas. And this is a part that kind of gives everyone a listen to the harp and to your voice. So it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Everywhere you go, take a look at the fine and
Oh man, I'm not just saying it because you're here on the podcast with me, but that just gives me all the Christmas feels. Makes me want to melt. And I just love your delivery of that, as well as that real cool harp playing. Well done, man. Just on that
Oh,
song. If
thank
that was
you.
the only song you had, I would have stopped and walked away. You know?
No, I appreciate it. Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's actually probably. I mean, it kind of changed. My favorite song on the album kind of changed, but
yeah.
I think it once now that everything's done and I really got to marinate in all the songs, it's
Mhm.
beginning to look a lot like Christmas. The way I did it with the harp on that album, that's definitely
Yeah,
my favorite. So
yeah.
so I really appreciate it.
I just love that butter, that sauce you put on your voice and your delivery there. So who were some of your influences, you know, growing up as a jazz singer and falling in love with jazz?
Yeah, I would say so. The foundation for me was Ella Fitzgerald for sure.
Mhm,
That was kind of like the foundation of just jazz singing in general.
mhm,
And then when it came to stylistically and those different things, Nat King Cole,
mhm.
big time. And then there's some other lesser known jazz singers. One by the name of June Christie. Check her out. Everyone check her out for sure. She's amazing, but more of an underrated jazz singer. She didn't really start getting her I feel like her due diligence
Yeah.
until she passed away, unfortunately.
Oh, mercy.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, her phrasing and just the way she uses her vibrato and different dynamics on her voice, I've really taken a lot after her. And then there's another singer by the name of Bill Henderson. He was actually in Clue the movie. He was
Mhm.
also an actor. And he has a very nice like bluesy, soulful thing to his jazz style. So I
Mhm.
kind of use semblance of that as well as the June Christie and then stylistics of Nat King Cole, and then foundation of Ella. That's kind of usually how I
Yeah.
explain it to people.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so yeah.
Well, if you're starting with Ella Fitzgerald, you're starting in a good place, you know, 'cause it's hard to beat that. She's got some great music, but some of her Christmas music is, you know, people know it, but it's not quite as held in high esteem as it should be, you know. And
Agreed.
you know,
Agreed.
and but yeah, that's a good place to start. I have of course Nat King Cole's been one of my favorites, you know, Christmas or not Christmas. I just
Hmm.
love it. I'm a vinyl record collector, and I have a couple of his records on vinyl, and just to spin those it's like heaven in the air,
Yeah,
to
I
hear
know.
that voice, you know, just something about listening to that on the vinyl with the, you know, needle moving it versus, I mean,
Hmm.
it's great digitally, but just something about that vinyl record. I don't know. It might not. It just might all be mental, but
No,
I,
I feel you. I have a record player myself, and yeah, I feel like it's especially with jazz records.
yeah,
I mean, vinyl in general, just because the record player is cool,
yeah,
but especially with jazz records, seeing that needle spin on that record, and then hearing whatever it might be,
yeah.
most of Nat's records has big bands, orchestras,
Mhm.
symphonies, that type of thing, and so
Yeah,
hearing that, or even if it's a laid back, just like I don't know, like bass and guitar type.
mhm,
Those are some of my favorite records to listen to because it's just so laid back and chill. But yeah, no, I feel you. It's not just mental on you. Like it's an
yeah,
experience for sure.
yeah. Well, I remember the first time I really noticed it, I had bought a Andy Williams Christmas album on
Mm,
vinyl, and of course, I've listened to Andy Williams my whole life, and, you know, starting off, it was cassette tape and then CDs and then streaming, and I always knew he was, like, a great singer. But for some reason, when I first put the vinyl on and start spinning and listening, it's like he just absolutely blew me away with how great of a singer he was. It was so much. It's just so much different to hear it like that than it was the way that I have heard it before. And that's when I really, really just started paying attention to those, classic albums that were recorded on vinyl, and those crooners and their voices and things, because it just blew me away how much he's got lower range voice, how much it just filled the room. And things, but that really stand out. So you'll have to make a promise. Maybe one day you'll have some albums come out on vinyl.
Oh, I got you. Hopefully someone sponsors me or something, because vinyl making is expensive these days. But I know they're trying to find different ways, like some vinyl printing companies are trying to find ways to do, like, if you promise to sell 50 of them, or like get the funds to sell 50, we'll press them for you, and then you can sell that way, rather than like trying to do a bulk thing and then like distributing. So, but no, I got you. As soon as vinyl comes out, I got you, Todd.
Well, I don't want to say anything right now, but when we hit the end of the record button, remind me to tell you something about vinyl records. So, I know a guy.
Okay. Good to know.
All right. But yeah, like I said, you tackled some heavyweight songs on this album, and I have 3 of them lined up, to listen to, and we listened to It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas. Now you took It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, speaking of Andy Williams, and you did something a little bit different with it. And at first I was like, what's he doing? And then I'm like, I don't know if I've heard it like this. And then you changed it, and I was like, this is really cool, because it's a song everybody knows how it's going to go, no matter who's singing it. And you didn't really flip it on its head, but you gave it your own flair. But let's give everybody a listen. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
With those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings, when friends come to call, it's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling.
All right. You had this slow vibe like that through the first half, and then you just took it to kind of a more familiar place. What gave you the inspiration to slow it down for the first half of the song?
Honestly, it just worked so well with the song. I feel like obviously we know it, by that classic Andy Williams version, just very grand and big, which ends up happening. I had to pay homage to that too in the song. I couldn't not do that. But for the slowing down part, it honestly, it just it made the words and the lyrics feel a little more sentimental, and just more just kind of like that, burning a fire and everyone out, in the winter, even though I'm in Florida, it's not like we burn many fires over here.
Right.
But yeah, it just kind of worked. And it also worked with sort of the idea I had. I kind of wanted a grand finale of the album, and the arrangement of the song definitely serves as like a grand finale, just, incorporating all different kinds of styles and textures and tempos and stuff. So. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. There used to be a performance we did every other year. It was a version of A Christmas Carol, and I was always like one of the moochers that borrowed money from Scrooge, and we all had this big thing we had to sing in. And one of the songs we did, in part of the musical, was It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. And you're right, slowing it down to give the words focus it was really good idea, because I don't know how many times every year we did that. Of course, there was always new people. We'd be learning the songs, and they're like, what's this about ghost stories in this song? Or what's this about this? And it's like they've heard the song so many times, but they never listened to what it, actually was saying.
Exactly.
So that
and then also like what you were saying, just on the idea of like, oh, I haven't heard it like this before. What's he doing?
Yeah.
I kind of like, getting the listener like that, being like, oh, I don't know what he's doing here. I know how the song's supposed to go. But then by the end, it's like, okay, I see what you did there. So that's kind of, I'm glad that's kind of was your thoughts, because that's definitely what I was going for a little bit.
Yeah. DCO. It's like there's a lot of times I'll hear a song and I'm like, what are they doing here? because it's all wrong, you know, and it, you know, but I really enjoyed this. At first I was kind of, it was like this curiosity hit me. It's like, this is new and interesting, but I liked what you was doing, because it's tricky when you change a song like that, because you want to change it, you know, to fit your style, but you also want to make sure that there's like a homage paid, you know, to the original, because if you just completely upend it and take it and make it something that, you know, never was, it doesn't really sit well with people. You have to have a lot of musical clout to be able to do something like that.
Totally.
You know, so, but yeah, it was really cool. And I didn't put it in there. I didn't put the build up in there because I always like to leave the people something to look forward to when they listen to the song, because it's really cool how she uses her harp to get you where you need to be, and I really enjoyed that.
Definitely, yeah. I have to shout her out a little bit, just to say her name. First of all, her name is Rossitza Milevska. And yeah, no, I've never worked with someone. So first of all, working with the harpist, I mean, I already knew there was going to be, or at least I intended there would be some certain challenges musically, just because it's not a conventional jazz instrument or anything like that. But the way I was easily able to just tell her my ideas, arrangement wise, or and things like that, and she was able to kind of know what I was going to do, and then send it over to like a demo to me and be like, "Is this what you mean?" And I was like, "Are you in my brain? Like what?" So yeah, she like, I remember for the build up, you know, obviously we're not going to show it, but for the build up, I was like, yeah, I need this. I want like because we modulated, you know, like 2 times in the song, but for that last modulation to the end of the song, yeah, I was like, I just need like a build up. Like I hear something, I'm hearing like a glissando build up. Like I literally couldn't explain it to her because she's a harpist, so it was hard to like really use the terminology. But she sent that to me, and I was like, you know what? See, this is like, you know, so it worked out so well.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be. But you'll have to send me her links and stuff. Well, I'll include it in the show notes so people can check out her stuff and her YouTube and her Spotify and that kind of stuff too as well.
Definitely.
We'll give her plenty of credit, because she's definitely the second voice. Isn't, you know, you're singing solo, but this really doesn't have a solo album feel, because you know, you and her are in such tandem together on these songs that you know, she's definitely a key voice in it as well, and deserves, you know, the credit on that, and such a talented artist in her own right. So
definitely.
Yeah. Definitely. What made you pick these 5 particular songs?
Oh geez. So like I said, it started out with the single, and the single was on the I don't know if we're gonna play this one, but I mean, one of the tunes we're doing is called "What Are You Doing New Year's Eve?"
Yep,
that's more. Okay, cool. So see, perfect. See, me and Todd are already ready for
yep.
We see. But yeah, that's actually not that it's a lesser known one, but unless you're an avid either jazz or like Christmas jazz listener, then most people don't really know that one, because I know a lot of my friends or peers, especially my age, how I talk about it, like, or even older people, they're like, what's that tune? Yeah. But then they hear it and it's just so cool and different, and the words and the lyrics to that tune. So we started out with that, and then all the other tunes just came based off of tempos and groove. It was just like, so What Are You Doing New Year's Eve is more of a ballad. So I was like, okay, well, let me pick up tempo. Then I picked, you know, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which isn't usually done super up tempo, but we kind of swing it a little bit. And then I was like, okay, well, now I want to try a different style, which was, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, that had more of that bossa Latin flair. And that sounds really good on the harp too. And then I was like, okay, let's find another like ballad, more of a power ballad. And so we did a Holy Night. And then I was like, okay, now I need a grand finale. And then we picked It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. So it really was just kind of like making sure each song had its texture and it served a different thing for the album and for the listeners and things like that. So.
Yeah. I avoided playing "Oh Holy Night" because everybody on the podcast knows that's my favorite Christmas song. And anytime anybody has a version of it, I always play it, and I'm like, you know what? I really enjoyed your and actually, you really got me, because you know. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is another one of my top tier, and What Are You Doing New Year's Eve is another one that falls in that group. I know it's not that well known, but I just love that song. I love the melody lines in that song.
Yes.
And the way it kind of just, there's this like this, just kind of like the suspense in it. And there's a
Mhm.
little bit of sadness, but a little bit of hope too in it. It just hits
Yes.
this, you know, it just hits this perfect holiday feeling of, you know, of what's coming up for the new year. And it's like, are you going to be here? Are you going to be there? You know,
Right,
and
right.
it's just, yeah, that song. I've kind of heard it before here and there, but I never really took a hold of it till here a few years ago. When I heard it on the album, and I was like, man, that's such a great song. So then I started, you know, seeking out other versions for it, and it just fell in love with the melody of that, you know, song.
Yeah,
So much.
it's
But
awesome. And then it
yeah,
gives you a reason to be able to like promote your album until New Year's. You
yeah,
know, I don't have to wait till like December 25th and it's
yeah,
like, oh, Christmas is over. It's like, no, that tune is talking about New Year's Eve, so I
yeah,
can promote it up until
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, you could always do like the Ingrid Mickleson and Jason Mraz with the Christmas Valentine song. It's like, well,
right,
this song is
right,
great for, you know, for the first, you know, for December, January, and February. You
right.
know, so,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Capitalize.
yeah. Well, you know, as long as it's a great song, it's fine. But let's give everybody a taste of what are you doing New Year's Eve.
What are you doing, New Year's? New Year's Eve. Wondered whose arms will hold you good and tight when it's exactly 12 o'clock that night.
Man, I love that song. It's my favorite of the ones you put out. I just love it because it's like you hear the story that song's telling, and he's singing it like he knows the answer, but he doesn't really want to admit the answer. You
Right.
know,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Yes. No, I appreciate it. No, I love that one too. That was the first. That would have been the single right there. So I'm
Yeah.
glad it was your favorite of them all because that would have been the single. So
Yeah, that was really, really cool. When you approached the song, did you have any ideas of just, you know, wanting to transform it, or did you just want to kind of do it straightforward, like, you know, pretty similar to the way it was written originally?
oh yeah, definitely. Like just straightforward. I mean,
Yeah.
that song speaks for itself. The melody,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've heard even because oftentimes I like to listen to other people's versions of it, and most versions I've heard, no one's really like veered too far away from that slow swing or like slow ballad feel. I did hear one that was pretty up tempo, but they did it. It was like a singer. She did it with a bassist, like an upright bassist. So you know, it swung a little bit and it was cool. But yeah, no, it spoke for itself, and I was like, yeah, this would be the one. And even with the harps, the harp playing, I told her be a little more laid back, you know, because a lot of the other tunes are a lot more illustrious in the arpeggios and the glissandos and all that good stuff. But this one was just very, you know, sentimental and just, you know, laid back and right in the pocket. So
yeah, it really was. And that, I'm gonna spare everybody my singing because it's fairly terrible. But that melody for, you know, what are you doing? Just that line, that melody for that is just something about those notes in that order with those words just melt me in things. But yeah, I've heard that song, you know, I first heard it when Ingrid Mickleson covered it on her Sounds of the Season album, and I think it was her last song, and that's the one that really made me pay attention. And it's just kind of the standard, you know, version. But you know, there's been a few other people, you know, like Casey Musgraves covered it, but I wasn't real fond of her version, even though there wasn't anything wrong with it. It just didn't. The delivery in the field wasn't there. This is a song that you really have to put a longing into, you know. You're not just asking the question. There's something about it, and
definitely,
you know, you don't want. And that's the other tricky thing. I think I said it a second ago. It's like, you know the answer, but you still have this like. So you're saying there's a chance, you know?
Right, exactly. Yeah, my favorite is definitely Ella Fitzgerald. Like,
yeah,
hands down. Like I knew when I heard her do it, it was like,
yeah.
Like I think that's probably my favorite Ella. I mean, it's a tie between that one and her version of the Christmas song. But I think that also kind of wins that one for me too. But no, what are you doing New Year's Eve? Ella's version was like, that was one of the main reasons I wanted to do it as a single. and then also have a jazz teacher.
Yeah.
Little plug for her. Her name is Jane Monheit. I don't know if you heard of her. She's more of a current jazz singer, and she said this is her favorite song to sing, you know, over any jazz standard and everything like that. And so hearing her do it too, and her being, you know, a mentor of mine, that was definitely a little bit of a motivation there too. But yeah. But no, I hope more people, you know, start to love it, or it gets the what it deserves. But also I also don't want it to be like, in a weird way, it's like I want it to be, you know, publicize like the song a little more, but at the same time I don't, because I want those that know it and understand the meaning and really, you know, like kind of like yourself, to be able to enjoy it, and also those who want to, you know, record the song can give it, you know, the right feeling and you know, its purpose, the purpose of the song, rather than, you know, be this popular song that everyone's doing these pop versions to or something, you know. So
it's like you want people to know it, but you want it to maintain its you know, for lack of a better word, its purity, so to speak, you know, and its reverence. But I have a Christmas Clatter Christmas Spotlight playlist for 2021, and a couple of your songs will be making it on there. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas and What Are You Doing New Year's Eve, and I'll be putting those on. In fact, there are, as this is live on December 1st, they are already on the playlist and in there, and I have a max of 24 songs, and it's independent artists such as yourself that I've you know, gotten to talk with, and some that I haven't, but I've, you know, been made aware of the things they're putting out, and feel that it, you know, needs its place to shine, because it's really tough to break through the heavyweights of, you know, Christmas, you know, you know, with, like we talked about with Andy and Nat King Cole and Bing and Frank Sinatra. That's pretty tough ceiling to break through. You know? And, so I just wanted a place that people can get to your music a little easier, and of course links to your Spotify will be there also. But before we go, someone doesn't sit down and have this you know, call a harp player up from across the Atlantic Ocean to make Christmas music, just because it's something to do. So tell me about your love for Christmas, and maybe a little bit about growing up, some childhood memories of Christmas and some traditions maybe your family has.
I mean, Christmas is my favorite holiday. I mean, but I mean, I've grown up just always loving Christmas. I mean, honestly, my favorite memories, as you know, cookie cutter and cliche as they sound, are just I have 3 younger siblings that I grew up with, and just sneaking out to go see, you know, to look at the presents under the tree. That just always, like, I could remember barely sleeping on Christmas Eve to, you know, go look under the tree. And then some memories even more, you know, as I grew up, you know, and found out that, you know, well, I don't want to say Santa is not real, but when I found out who my Santa was, you know, you know, sort of just like going to them directly and letting them know, you know, this is what I want for Christmas. And kind of having that intel of Santa and his elves, you know what I mean? So those are definitely some of my favorite memories. But yeah, it's always just a time of the year that, and then as a jazz singer, I mean, I get the most work around Christmas time, you know, because everyone wants to hear jazz, you know, takes on the Christmas tunes and everything like that. So, you know, as a jazz singer, it serves me well, and it's near and dear to my heart. But then, you know, the family, you know, being home, also being in Florida and not having to have excruciating cold weather, you know, that's also a plus, and things like that. But yeah, and then I get to do things like release this album, and things like that. And now every year, I think what I really could look forward to is every year that comes around, just being able to be like, oh, I did this thing, and, you know, I could promote it every year, and it's kind of this thing that'll stay with me forever, and with other people forever as they listen to it, and things like that. And, you know, God willing, if I don't want to say make it big, but if I, you know, get a little more exposure and things like that, to see people listen to the project and just be, you know, enamored or just intrigued by what they hear, and I can look back on it and be like, oh gosh, I made that thing while I was in grad school and college, and you know, here I am, I don't know, 40 something years old. People still listening to it and enjoying it, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, I understand all that, and that's wonderful. I'm kind of I have four kids, and
Mm.
two are definitely old enough to be clued in. One, he's old enough to be like, I'm not sure if he's clued in or not, but no spoilers. And
Right.
the youngest is hook, line, and sinker. So, 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 so we're still rolling with that. And man, I wish you all the luck in your jazz career. And do not be a stranger around here at Christmas Clatter. If you have anything we can help you with, please feel free to reach out at any time of the year, and be more than happy to help you best we can. And I've interviewed enough artists over the almost 3 years I've been doing this, and there's a you know there's a real good living to be made out there putting out music that doesn't involve hitting the big time, so to speak, that everybody strives for, because of everybody's looking to put music in TV shows and movies and
Mhm.
commercials, and looking for you to write a song for them or anything like that. But I hope you uh, get to where you want to be. And something I've noticed, because I cover a lot of music, I'm a big music fan, is it seems like this old school vibe, this kind of in all music, whether it's jazz or rock or country and even pop, it seems like that's kind of becoming a up and coming trend, that people are going for more of the classical sounds. I've noticed that in
Oh,
a
yeah.
few of the R&B tunes I've listened to that aren't Christmas tunes, but it's like they're starting to embrace kind of those classical sounds. I'm starting to see that as well in some of these more jazz style albums. So hopefully that um you know benefits you too as well, that you're hitting it at the right time. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, no,
yeah,
and I agree. I'm hearing a lot of sort of this new. It seems like every so often there's this new
hmm
wave of like
yeah,
incorporating the classic, jazz sort of, theory and tones, or the classical, as you mentioned,
yeah,
into more mainstream music. I mean, I even one of my biggest goals as a jazz singer and as a young jazz singer is to have people my age and younger than me continue the legacy as well.
yeah,
I feel like this music is so near and dear to my heart and a lot of people's heart, but it's become this almost this lost art.
yeah,
But and there needs to be people there that continue the legacy. And so my goal is to definitely not stray away from the
hmm
classic, because my style is very 20s, 30s style
yeah,
jazz, like old school. But
mhm,
I do want to also incorporate it into a little bit more of this modern, whether R&B, neo soul meets jazz,
yeah,
that whole thing. Or one person I think of is like Amy Winehouse. Like she
yep,
was monumental in being able to use her jazz training or just her jazz um, knowledge and experience to be able to connect it to more mainstream and newer, and people listen to her and cover her. And sometimes people don't even realize that she was a jazz artist or that she
right,
is a jazz artist. They think, oh, she's just this mainstream pop artist, but no, she
hmm
just made it very mainstream, and
hmm
made it, and created the music in a way where people can connect to it. Obviously Buble does it too, but he's a lot
yeah,
more I feel like he stays a little more true to the normal jazz sound
yeah,
than like
yeah,
Amy Winehouse. It was a lot more smooth jazz, or
hmm
just more R&B, almost pop, those different things. So
yeah,
so yeah,
yeah.
so
Yeah, I agree with that, especially about Amy Winehouse. And Buble kind of embraces that, like, I don't want to say commercial jazz, but that more
yeah,
well embraced style of jazz big band music, which is that's what he does, and he does it well,
right,
and he can't fault him for that. But I'm glad to see that too, because jazz has such an important part in the history of music and the history of American music. It's got such an important role, culturally as well, that it's a history we don't want to forget, anytime soon.
right.
And I'm so glad that you're able to be a part of keeping it alive with a younger generation. And DCO, well done on this album, Harping My Way Through Christmas. It's available now wherever music is streaming. Let everybody know where they can find you on the social medias.
For sure, for sure. I mean, first of all, I just want to say thanks, Todd, for having me on
Mhm.
the Christmas Clatter podcast, our
Uh-huh.
first podcast interview in the books now. Yes, you can find me on social medias at my Instagram is at Decyo, Decyo spelled DECYO _Jazzway, JAZZWAY, DCO _Jazzway. Facebook, Decyo McDuffie. My website is www.decyomcduffie.com. And I think that's everything. And then Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff. YouTube, Decyo McDuffie. And yeah, definitely take a listen, and you can follow me on my journey and those different wonderful things, especially all you jazz lovers. And if you're not a jazz lover, hopefully listening to me will help that, alleviate some of that. So
yeah, absolutely. And for those driving or unable to write those down, all DCO's contacts will be in the show notes and descriptions with links. So you just be no more than a tap away from him and his music. And if I don't talk to you between here and there, DCO, have a very Merry Christmas, man.
Oh, you too. You too. Thank you so much.
Christmas Clatter is a Very Merry Media production. And remember, keep Christmas hope alive every day.